I wanted to get rich not because I like money, but because I wanted to give that money to charity.
Today we're going to discuss, was FTX really just a gigantic crypto Ponzi scheme? I hope you enjoyed this video, but before we start, I need you to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. FTX was run by billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried. It was one of the biggest crypto exchanges of all time. FTX traded $7 billion worth of cryptocurrency, half of all the cryptocurrency volume traded in 2022. FTX was well known in the crypto game for spending large amounts of money on advertising and endorsements. They gave social media influencers large sums of money to promote their products and services. They gave athletes like Steph Curry, athletes like Tom Brady, large sums of money to promote their platform and promote their cryptocurrency. They even spent $135 million for the naming rights to the Miami Heat Arena in Miami, Florida. Now, the question on everybody's mind, was FTX really just a gigantic crypto Ponzi scheme? Well, let's discuss if that was true or not. Now, there's two things we're going to discuss in this two-part series. We're going to discuss the evidence if FTX was really a gigantic Ponzi scheme. The first thing we're going to break down in this episode is the Odd Lots podcast, where Sam Bankman-Fried actually did an interview in April of 2022. In this podcast, Bankman-Fried tries to break down what DeFi is, and he explains what he believes DeFi and yield farming actually is. He basically admits to creating a Ponzi scheme. He basically admits to creating a token with no value. He even shocks the host at one point during this interview. Let's listen.
A surprising amount of legitimacy for what farming could mean. Where'd you start? You start with a company that builds a box. And in practice, this box, they probably dressed it up to look like a life-changing, world-altering protocol that's going to replace all the big banks in 38 days or whatever. Maybe for now, actually ignore what it does or pretend it does literally nothing. It's just a box. And then this protocol issues a token. We'll call it whatever, X token. And X token promises that anything cool that happens because of this box is going to ultimately be usable by, governance vote of holders of the X tokens.
Man, I'm a big believer in people will subconsciously use words that can incriminate them when they know that they're guilty. And he does this repeatedly. The word choices and also the way he describes tokens as being empty boxes shows you that he doesn't really see these tokens having any value at all. Then he goes on to say, pretend that you're going to do something life-changing and then don't do nothing. That's the very definition of fraud. Tell the people you're going to do something, take money in, and then don't do what you say. That's the exact definition of fraud. Let's listen some more.
They can vote on what to do with any proceeds or other cool things that happen from this box. And of course, so far, we haven't exactly given a compelling reason for why there ever would be any proceeds from this box. But I don't know, maybe there will be. So that's sort of where you start. And now what happens?
Now that's strike two. He literally admitted to fraud again. He says, let's pretend we're going to do governance. Let's pretend like there's going to be proceeds and profit. And there's not actually going to be any, but that's okay because that's how crypto is. The shocking part is he explains all of this in a matter-of-fact, almost disconnected way. Let's listen some more.
Well, X token has some market cap, right? It's probably not zero. Let's say it's, $20 million market cap.
From first principles, it should be zero, but okay.
Sure. Okay. I completely reasonable comment.
That's not quite true, but it's when you describe it in this totally cynical way, it sounds like it should be zero, but go.
Describe it this way. You might think, for instance, that in 5 minutes with an internet connection, you could create such a box and such a token. And then it should reflect it should be worth $180 or something market cap for that effort that you put into it. In the world that we're in, if you do this, everyone's going to be like, ooh, box token. Maybe it's cool. If you buy a box token, that's going to appear on Twitter and I'll have a $20 million market.
Man, he just talks about creating $20 million out of nothing. He says in crypto, we can do whatever we want. It really doesn't matter. You can hear in his voice how justified Bankman-Fried feels in doing all of this. The host, Matt Levine, is completely shocked. He actually has to step in at one point and correct Bankman-Fried. Now these empty boxes that Sam Bankman-Fried continues to reference are what the FTX tokens were. Empty boxes that had no value. That's how he saw it. And he dumped those on the unsuspecting public. He basically said in this interview he felt like the token value was completely made up out of thin air. In this podcast, Bankman-Fried isn't even sure if the tokens have true value. He basically admits to this by his own admission in this podcast. I think FTX was one of the biggest pyramid schemes in history. On November 11th, Bankman-Fried stepped down as CEO, and FTX filed bankruptcy in a 23-page document where they admitted to owing $50 billion in debt to 100,000 creditors. Now, just to give you a reference point, this is just as big as Enron. As this news came out, most exchanges that traded FTX suspended trading immediately and stopped withdrawals of the defunct FTX token. Now, this collapse could be far-reaching because FTX was tied into a lot of companies, including BlockFi. They're one of the biggest providers of credit to BlockFi. They're one of the biggest recipients of Tether in the world. Now, this is going to affect the cryptocurrency ecosystem, but by no means crypto's over or crypto's done. It's just a small blip in a long road with a lot of potential. And I strongly believe in the future potential of cryptocurrency, in its promise, and I still believe that it's going to do a lot of great things. This is part of the growing pains of cryptocurrency. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I want you to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below.